Hey, Margie here. You don't want to miss this interview on a specific type of vitamin E called tocotrienols. And tocotrienols have been shown to reduce bone loss, reduce cholesterol, triglycerides, improve fatty liver, help with diabetes, and even cancer, there's research on. So this is really powerful, something that's just not known, but we're going to hear about it. So I'm so excited because our special guest is Dr. Barrie Tan. And Dr. Tan is hailed as a trailblazer and the world's foremost expert on vitamin E. He's a scientist who's earned his PhD in chemistry and biochemistry from the University of Otago, New Zealand, and spent several years as a professor at UMass. His research expertise includes lipid soluble nutrients that impact chronic conditions. And he was the first to introduce tocotrienols, the benefits to the nutrition industry, and developed the first ever tocopherol-free tocotrienol product derived from annatto. And you'll understand that after the importance of these words may sound crazy to you, but you'll understand this after today's interview. Dr. Tan continues to collaborate with numerous universities worldwide to further tocotrienol research. And beyond tocotrienol, Dr. Tan's research now spans into something called GG, which he'll go into, which is a critical endogenous nutrient for healthy aging. Dr. Tan has held roles of chief scientific officer and scientific board member for multinational organizations. His career includes periods working in association with the U.S. Armed Forces and a Prince of Thailand, as well as being an internationally celebrated and sought after speaker, having presented at multiple respected conferences, and he's also been featured in an array of popular media. Dr. Tan is currently the president of American River Nutrition, a natural health company he started with his wife in 1998. Described as a scientific pioneer, his mission is simple: improve the everyday health of people's lives. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How can we use this tocotrienols that has been researched to improve our bones and overall health? There is so much information. It's a long interview because I just had so many he's just a wealth of information, and I had so many questions, and I really wanted to make sure we understood how we can use this best to improve our lives. So if you can't get to everything, stop and then come back. And in the show notes, I really talk about where you can get the supplements for discounts, and how you can get the things that he talks about, because he doesn't manufacture supplements. He just makes the active ingredients that are used in multiple supplements. So this can be life-changing for people. I'm just so happy. I met Dr. Tan quite a while ago and just really, really feel honored that he had the time to join me on the podcast. So enjoy this very special podcast episode. Welcome, Dr. Tan. I'm so happy to be here with you. This is such an important topic, and one that people really don't know about. People have heard about vitamin E, but they have no idea of how it can help so many different causes. And I'm just thrilled to be here with you because it's very funny. I met you many years ago, actually, at the IHS, the Integrative Healthcare Symposium in New York City. You were speaking on tocotrienols, and I just couldn't get over the information you were saying and the research and how this can help bone health. It can help diabetes. It can help blood sugar. It can help just so many things. And there's so many people who suffer with cholesterol, triglycerides. So we're going to get into all of that. But I'm just really, really excited to be here with you. So welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me. So this has been great. And oftentimes when I speak, and then you have so many people in the audience and you don't know who they are and then they walked away. But oftentimes when they return and come back, and then I'm able to reaffirm and some of the studies stay the same, that is a good thing. So I'm looking forward to the show with many things to talk about. I'll have you take the lead. Thank you, Margie.
Okay. So first of all, let's talk about vitamin E. And you're going to go into specifics. And so why don't you let's just start off with the benefits in general of vitamin E as we age.
Okay. Among the vitamin, they are the water soluble vitamin, like the B vitamin, like the C vitamin, And then the lipid soluble vitamin. Among the lipid soluble vitamin, people hear a lot about vitamin D, somewhat about vitamin A and vitamin K. Vitamin E, however, is lesser known, probably because in the 90s, there was some negative press about vitamin E coming, particularly of alpha tocopherol. So now in the vitamin E, there are two groups. One would be tocopherol, the one that you see in your cereal box and elsewhere, and then tocotrienol, the much lesser known one. I focus highly on the tocotrienol. Then there are four tocopherols and four tocotrienol. And the best known of the tocopherol is alpha tocopherol, and then of the four tocotrienols, the two most potent ones are the delta tocotrienol and gamma. So you just only have to remember delta and gamma, then that would fit. And as I'm talking, you'll become clear of the eight different vitamin E, which one will stand up like head and shoulder above the others.
Okay, so let's go into that. I know which one it is, but why don't you explain? Do you want to start with osteoporosis, or do you just want to start more in general in terms of
How about I start more in general and then I'll pass back to you to lead what question you would like to tease out from me. And this is
okay.
usually what I try to do. Now, remember that I have been spending time to study vitamin E now for 35 years. So it's a slow train coming. And over time, initially I did test tube study and then animal study, lots and lots of them. Eventually, I distilled them to doing clinical trials. So from all of these study, I have clustered them in these two areas. The big area would be it helped with older people on chronic condition. So I begin with that. And then if you drop from the chronic condition, it would be the chronic condition that more everybody have heard about. And then there's a chronic condition that is, I can talk about it in clinical study. I can never say it in the bottle and it'll become obvious. Let me talk about this side first. Among the chronic conditions here that we have studied, we started with lipidemia, which means that people have high cholesterol, high triglyceride. Then we study people with pre-diabetes. That means that the sugar is normal high and the triglyceride is high. And then we study people with type 2 diabetes, where the sugar is high, triglyceride is high, and then the endocrinologist is more interested on is your insulin functioning properly. So it's that area. So now, and then and we also studied actually our first clinical study on this chronic condition area in Texas was done by a professor on osteopenia, a women who are going towards osteoporosis, but not quite there yet. And that same professor now is, with some encouragement to me, decided to do it on older men and women who are obese, that carry a lot of weight and the burden on them and how this would work on them. The last one in this chronic condition set that I'm studying, can you imagine that all these people with fatty liver disease, people who have metabolic syndrome, had fatty liver disease is a silent disease. And about 25-30% of us have it. In other words, the liver is become cirrhotic, like what you expect 30 years ago when we hear about alcohol cirrhosis. But who would have guessed, you fast forward today, due to our eating of high fat diet, our liver look like those that are destroyed by alcohol. So in this fatty liver study, why did we do this? After I like to pose myself a rhetorical question, is because when we did the metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol, triglyceride like that, they seem to be in the same cluster. And the people with fatty liver would be. So we decided that we are all in to do this. My company is a small company making this product in Massachusetts. And we decided every penny we have, we would just put it back in here. So we decided to go after the silent of all disease. We in the largest solid organ in our body called the liver. So we first did a 3-month study. At the time we did the 3 months, the liver enzymes go up, and we see the liver enzymes come down. And then we did a 6-month study. It's a different study. The 6-month study to look longer, to look to see if the fat in the liver is also decreased, and if the inflammation in the liver is also decreased. voila, we actually saw the decrease. Then we did the 12-month study. And after that, I told my people, I cannot do any more. I only did this 3, 6, and 12 months because the organ is a very large organ. And we continue to see, if you ask me more, I can tell you more detail, very exciting thing. So this is the entire cluster of chronic condition. And on the other one, you may or may not wish to touch it. I leave it up to you, and your audience can decide what they would like. Because of the huge amount of animal studies that we did, some 75% of them use tocotrienol, and they directly kill cancer. And nobody is coming up to the podium to do a clinical trials on cancer. We decided that we are going to do this.
Wow.
So we have 8 clinical trials in Denmark on 4 cancers. And the cancers are ovarian, breast, lung, and colon cancer. Hard stuff. And my colleague in Florida is doing a pancreatic cancer, the deadliest of all cancers. So you can pick anyone in this cluster, and you can pick one. I'll give it back to you, and you can pick the best cherry you want me to talk about. I'll be glad to tell whatever I know. Thank you so much.
Wow. Well, it's interesting. I didn't realize I was doing, you know, when I met you, you have this great book that's available to everybody as a free download. And I'll have the link in the show notes, which is so amazing. And I remember reading this book because I met you. I was very impressed. And, I was very interested in what the bone benefits. But then I'm like, oh my goodness, this is, and, I take this on a day. I take this. I brought my pills that I take that have your ingredients in them. But I take this every day and I'm thinking, wow, it's one tiny pill. It's just unbelievable. One tiny supplement can do all these amazing things. It seems like a no brainer. Like, how could you not? But I didn't realize the cancer. That's very interesting. Okay. So there's so much to talk about. And this is such a win win situation. That's why I'm excited. And like a lot of things which upset me, why isn't this every doctor prescribing this to everybody? Someone comes in because the conditions you talked about are not small conditions.
Mhm.
And then you mentioned prediabetes, and unfortunately, a lot of people do. Their blood work shows prediabetes, and the doctor's like, "Oh, let's not worry," and they don't worry until it's diabetes. It's silly. When you hear these things, you want to take action and prevent. So the fact that this can help not only your bones, but all these other conditions is so great. Okay, so let's start with the bones. Can you tell about the research and what it showed? And I think it's fascinating with reducing, bone resorption. And why don't you fill us in on the research in
On the
terms
bone thing.
on the
Yeah.
so let's start with the bones since
Yeah.
this audience
It,
is
it's, a,
very much into bones. Yeah.
it's about 25 years ago. And in Malaysia, there was a well-known professor, and she started to do the bone study in many, many animal study. And it caught my attention. I would say that the year is probably 1997, and she may have started it before, but it got my attention then. So we contacted, and through the passage of years and 2 decades, she did more study. I will summarize in simple terms when they did the animal study what happened. She did preclinical trials with annatto tocotrienol. Annatto is from this lovely plant. I'll show you in picture while we're at it. You can see that. That is
It's
how
pretty color. What a
I
pretty color.
know. And people use the red color thing for coloring cheeses that we
Ooh,
have. If you go to Whole Food or Trader Joe, you can see that. We remove the color and the tocotrienols in there. Time permitting, you can ask me how the wonderful discovery there. So this professor, she's a medical doctor. She studied ovarytectomized model, which means that when you take the ovaries out of the animal, there would be like a woman postmenopausal greater than 45 years old, something like that. And then she studied orchid rectomized model, which means that they take the gonads off on the male, and it would be like men who are 65 or older. This is just in animal study like that first. And then she studied high fat, high carb diet. So this would be similar to metabolic syndrome that also bring on the onset of osteopenia. This will be applicable to men and women, probably 50 years or older. She also studied people who are smoking with nicotine. So these are toxicant related osteopenia. But all of them have to do with bone loss, like that. It's just different model. And then she studied a chronic model of steroid medicine. people who takes drug and the bone also drug induced. Finally, she did study on fractured bone. People have broken bone and see how the healing bone would process. Can you imagine that? She did all of these study in animal. Then I decided, man, I got to do a clinical trial on it. Although it is, if they do on animal side, that would be very encouraging. So we did. That study was done in Texas, for which you heard me talk about a couple of years ago from Professor Shen. Her last name is Shen, first name is Leslie Shen. She did that study, and in that study, she used it's a double blind. That means that they give a dummy pill, and the physician doesn't know, and the subject does not know. So in that study, she had three groups: a dummy pill group, a 300 milligram, and a 600 milligram. So it's three arms like that. And when the study finished, I'll just give you the shorthand of that study. And first, she said that for the bone building, is improved 115%. And for the bone resorption, see, in our body, a bone is not just all built. You can't just have that because every 24 months, your bones completely change, your skeletal change. So there's bone building and bone resorption to drop. You just need to have a balance on the two because of the renewal of the bone. It's a very organic substance. So the bone building part increased by 115%, and the bone resorption, that means the knocking out of the bone dropped by about 15%, 100% up, 15% down. So this would be good for people who are postmenopausal when the bone growing is not that coming down and the bone breakdown is going up. So the one over the other is not good. Then over time, you have osteopenia and osteoporosis. So when they took the tocotrienol, the bone building went up 100% approximately, and the bone breakdown dropped, a decrease by 15% by taking the tocotrienol 300 milligrams. And then the next one was very interesting. The oxidative stress. During this time of a woman's life, the oxidative stress increased. Why is that? Because the estrogen dropped. Now, many people doesn't know, and I know that if this sound too technical, just pardon me. It's not intentional, but I want to flash this to you that you may or may not have heard from other speakers. See this diagram here, orange color thing. The one of the orange color thing is the estrogen, and the estrogen dropped during menopause. The one below is tocotrienol. It also had that ring. That ring is an antioxidant. Do you know that most people do not know an estrogen is actually an antioxidant? Antioxidant in the sense that it is a phenolic. So when that drops, the oxidative damage goes up. So when they took the tocotrienol, the oxidative improvement is improved about 45 to 50%. That I thought it was very significant. Then the last comment the professor made was, if you say that if you take 300 milligram, it improves, let's say, X% like that. And if you take the 600 milligram after the study was over, it did not get to 2X. You would expect that, but it's not linear because we are biological people. Epigenetic, this and that, everything is different. It's about 1.3X. In other words, the 600 milligram by a little more, but not much more. So therefore, she concluded that the 300 milligram for people to mitigate osteopenia would be just fine. At like the weight.
Wow. So let's
So
just,
that was
yeah. So that's great. So let's just make that. So basically what you're saying, what we know with osteoporosis, there's an imbalance where we're losing more bone than building bone. And so now what happens here is it reduces that because we're not losing as much bone and we're actually building more bone. So it's a very, very positive for our bone. And it also has antioxidant, which is also good for inflammation and prevention of diseases. Did I get all that right? Is that
you got all of
okay? So
absolutely right.
that's all really wonderful, and that's what I've been taking since your talk. It was quite a while ago that I saw you at this convention and at the conference, And yeah, so I've been taking the 300 because that's what you had recommended for the bone. And so, okay, great. So let's continue. So this is just so important, but it's important. Let's just talk about the, as you said, very specific. So I want people to truly understand because they may just see vitamin E on their pill box, or they may say, okay, my vitamin has tocotrienols, or my vitamin. What should they look for? And can you just explain to us the difference so that people are getting the right thing?
Yeah. And because you asked me what are they going to look for like that, I have one slide. I just want to show it because
Sure.
people can see that.
And this will be also for those people who are listening on Apple Podcasts or whatever. This is also on YouTube. So you can always go, okay, so show
So
the
you can
slide.
see on you can see on the CAT scan thing on the control that mineralization drop on the bone of the animal. And then that when they add T3, which is tocotrienol, it looked like the sham group. Sham group means that they didn't do anything to the animal, where the mineralization is best. Is very comparable to the one with T3, which is tocotrienol. So in this study, they measure all of these things, and you can see the description I made in the 5 bullets. So once you can see it, rather than repeating it, you can read for
Oh,
yourself.
can you read it though? No, let's read it because not everybody
Okay.
will watch
All
this.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why
Let
don't
me
you just
read
read
to it.
those? Because I think it's important that this is not bogus. This is serious research.
Yeah. So the 5 are they handle higher stress and load to the fractured site. The second one, the tocotrienol prevented fracture from recurrence and increased the callus stiffness. The callus will be inside the bone, the parts that will begin to make the bone. And then the third one, improve the bone microstructure because they have CAT scan, they can see the improvement of the microstructure and also increase the bone's strength. And the fourth one would be increase osteoblast surface. They can study, if you do CAT scan, you can study this. Osteoblast is the one that built the bone. That will increase the osteoblast surface. That means that it's growing back of the osteoblast. And the last one would be improve metabolic syndrome parameters because these people are taking the high fat, high carb diet and they usually make your bone go down the opposite direction. And I noticed that when they gave them the tocotrienol, the metabolic syndrome decreased and the metabolic metabolism becomes better. So all of them added together, strong, good metabolites that are out of kilter coming back to kilter is also consistent with strong bone in their life. So in short, tocotrienol does. Now, it is not surprising to me, Margie, that this does it because tocotrienol is a powerful antioxidant. I know you didn't ask this question. In the tocopherol, the tail here, this is
Wait, the
the
tocopherol is the other one for everybody listening
yeah,
because
yeah,
okay.
tocopherol is the other one.
Okay.
The tail here, if I purposely get offside, the tail here is saturated. It's a saturated tail. This is the tocotrienol. The tail is if I purposely tilt it, you can see my finger pointing. There's just double bond. If you look carefully, there are 3 double bond, 1, 2, 3 in the tail. And that's why they call it tri. Tri means 3, trienol. Why did I spend time to say this? I'll explain why. If I don't have to, I won't. If you every person in our body have many cells. We have about 38 trillion cells in our body. This means, now that's a big number. In the world, we have 7.6 billion people. So we kind of can grasp that. About 5,000 times the size of the world is 38 trillion. So we have 38 trillion cells embody our whole body. And all the cells must have cell wall that contain all the content inside. That cell wall has fat. It's phospholipid, it's got fat, phosphate group sticking out in the water, and the fatty acid fat sticking in the water. It's just kind of like a moat in the castle, the moat around that. And that moat, that cell wall allows what good nutrients go in and the waste generated by the cell to go out. So every cell is a gated community. It is like this. And of The many words that we heard out there, I'm trying to cut to the chase, would be that we hear a lot about the word antioxidant. I just want to tell the audience the important antioxidant that you and I should care about is lipid antioxidant. And why is that, Dr. Tan? I'll tell you why. You hear resveratrol, lycopene, beta carotene, so many antioxidants. Yes, they are antioxidant, curcumin like this. Why do I care about lipid antioxidant? I care about lipid antioxidant because of, we're in the summertime now. Think of a roadkill, that smell. Think of a stick of butter in a hot summer day, that smell. The first thing that get oxidized is fat. Not protein, not carbohydrate, not nucleic acid. If my nucleic acid is being oxidized, I am dead like a doornail because by that time, all my DNA is getting oxidized, my protein is getting oxidized. They are important, but by the time it gets there, it's really bad. So the lowest thing to get oxidized would be the fat. Therefore, I like to protect the one that is easiest to get oxidized, and that would be the cell wall. If we have about 25 to 35% fat in our body, most of that fat is not in the love handle or in the butt or below our skin. Almost all of them are in the cell wall, and you cannot see them. And in the cell wall, you must have things that look like this. See, I purposely get off screen. That is the fatty acid sticking into the fat, and this is the one antioxidant sticking out of the water. In so doing, if any of the cell wall is being oxidized in the fatty acid, you probably encourage all your listener to take omega-3. Omega-3 is very polyunsaturated, so they can get oxidized. So they will become the cell wall over time you take enough. So if they get oxidized by oxygen, then this thing will sneak in, take the oxygen and remove the oxygen, and then the cell wall will become whole again. Normal antioxidant cannot do that. You have to have an antioxidant with a lipid tail that sticks into the fatty acid. And if the fatty acid get oxidized here, it'll come in here, grab the oxygen, take it out, and then the cell wall will become whole again, and the moat will work properly to protect the castle. So sorry I taken this long time. I wanted to communicate that there are many antioxidants. We care only about the lipid antioxidant, and vitamin E, including tocopherol and tocotrienol, constitute 90% of all the antioxidant on the cell wall. So if it's 90%, I want to pay attention to this kind of antioxidant, not the gazillion kind of antioxidant out there that people talk about. So
Just one question for people listening then, just so they pull it all together. So what conditions really affected by issues with the cell wall? Like what
uh,
conditions would you
I would
say?
I would say because it's so basic and nutritional in the daily function of the cell wall, just about all the conditions, because this it's a gated thing, what goes in and what goes out. For example, in the osteopenia study, we study the antioxidant damage, as I explained to you, and it's about 50% toned down. So it helped the woman. In the pre-diabetes, we noticed that we use marker of C-reactive protein. It's a marker of inflammation, the flip side of oxidation, and that calm down. In people with severe metabolic syndrome, like the fatty liver disease, they got lots of fat in the liver, the oxidized fat shoots up. And when they give them tocotrienol, the oxidized fat go down. So it's different marker for different things, but usually we measure some kind of oxidative marker. We measure some kind of inflammation marker. They will tell us a lot about these things. So those are some.
It's really important because I'm very big into looking at root causes. And so with osteoporosis, inflammation anywhere in the body is a root cause. So I'm very big into having people get their C-reactive protein evaluated. And so the things people will see then, if improvement in terms of their bone markers or in terms of their markers in general, so they can see improvement in reduction in bone resorption. Then they can also tell us about the cholesterol, the triglycerides, because everybody knows about that. So when they would get their blood work, how long do you typically see the change? Like, how long are people on it before they notice a difference?
But if it is lipid profile, 1 to 3 months they will see that. So if you got your blood work from your doctor, and then maybe 3 months after they take another blood work, you know that. If it is the osteopenia, we only look at markers. So for osteopenia, the bone thing, it may be about half a year to a year before you can see something. And again, your doctor would be able to tell you that. In the fatty liver disease, pre-diabetes and the diabetes, we usually conduct a minimum of 3 month study. And in specifically in the liver, we did a 6 month as well as a 12-month study. In fact, you mentioned about inflammation, oxidative thing. I did say at the beginning, we're conducting a study of obesity in Texas in men and women. We started with women initially, and we included men as well. In this case, these subjects are carrying so much weight, they would have severe inflammation. So we in this case will have adipose biopsy. So we can study how the fat is able to handle the stress on it. So the mechanism we will know even more. I would not be surprised that it would work similarly in people who carry a lot of weight in their body. So for sure. Back to your original question, Margie, that you asked, when people go out there, how do they know they buy the right thing? First off, you should know 90% of all the products out there that is vitamin E is not the one I'm talking about. They are referring to alpha tocopherol. You don't want that. If you take your normal vegetable and meat, you will get enough of the 10 milligram of alpha tocopherol your body needs. No more. You don't need to supplement. And supplemental amount out there could be 400 milligram to 1000 milligram. That would be detrimental. Don't buy those vitamin E. They are tocopherol, alpha tocopherol, not that. The
Okay,
one that
wait, stop 1 second before you go on. So when people are looking at their multivitamins, a lot of people are taking multivitamins. If they see vitamin E, what dose should they then, what's the alarm dose? So if it's not the one, if it's not the tocotrienols that we're going to discuss, what dose then would you say switch vitamins? What dose of vitamin E would you say you don't want that?
okay, I would say that I personally don't take any alpha tocopherol vitamin E at all. I would say that probably up to 10 to 15 milligram. The FDA say that the 100% RDA of alpha tocopherol is about 15 milligrams. So there's no need to take that. If a person take normal vegetable oil, fruit, and healthy diet, they should get approximately 10 to 15 milligram alpha tocopherol, and that should be fine. I don't, in fact, I'm so fastidious in not wanting to take alpha tocopherol. I have for the longest time not taken a multi because a multi contained alpha tocopherol. I didn't want to take even the 10, 15 milligram until one day I was able to convince a company to make a multi with all the alpha tocopherol taken out, and they put in tocotrienol. Then I start to take it, and that is a design for health. I can show you the bottle. That this one here, designed for health, primal multi. That is, if you look in the bottle, it will say that they only put in delta and gamma tocotrienol. So I start taking it like that.
Okay, so
Now,
let's go back now. Right. So what are people looking for that we want? Okay, so and I like Designs for Health too. It's a phenomenal company.
okay,
Oh,
you would want to take tocotrienol. So the vitamin E is tocotrienol vitamin E. It is spelled Tocotrienol. So if you just type tocotrienol, you will be fine. And then you have many ways to find that. You can search it through my name, to my company, this and that. But that, if you want it directly, that would be tocotrienol. Now, there are three tocotrienol sources in the market. The less known one is called palm. Oh, by the way, all the three sources of tocotrienol from palm, from rice, and from annatto. Uh, uh, Humbly, I must say, I was the one that discovered them over my years of thing. And people do this, but can you think about what I just said? I discovered tocotrienol from rice, from palm, And most recently, from annatto, I discovered all of them over my years of research. And I only use annatto tocotrienol. And why is that? Rice tocotrienol have 50% tocopherol and 50% tocotrienol. Palm, 25% tocopherol, 75% tocotrienol. That's palm. And annatto, 0%. I purposely put my hand below, and 100% tocotrienol. So when I have that, it will be obvious. Now, this would be enough to convince the audience to stay with just the tocotrienol. But if you can handle a little bit more complex, a nuanced concept, I'll say it. It is all written in the book when you get a copy of the book that I explain inside here. When you have tocopherol and tocotrienol together, the tocopherol will put brakes on the function of tocotrienol. If you use a scientific word, the tocopherol will mitigate the function of tocotrienol. If you put it in another way, the tocopherol will interfere with the function of tocotrienol. Because of this, we proved it in study. Because of this, we decided that for the best way to have tocotrienol function would have tocopherol free. And then 25 years ago, I went to South America looking for something else. I discovered this plant, and this plant have 100% tocotrienol and 0% tocopherol. I knew I got something. I immediately called the father of modern day tocotrienol research, Professor Karashi, at the time in University of Wisconsin. He said that, Barrie, if this is what you got from this plant, and if he actually said it, and if tocotrienol would do all the function we found in animal study, then your tocotrienol should do that. If it didn't, you and I will be the most lost cause of anything. Because he actually said like that. Then I said, in that case, Professor Karashi, why don't you do the clinical study for me and see what? So he did the first clinical study for us for lipidemia. And since then, we have done all the other chronic condition study. So I'm actually thrilled to see all these study panning out. And this would be to the benefit of the audience who can take this for their own health.
Wow. Now, why is this not every doctor knows about this? Every conventional medicine doctor who is treating, whether it's osteoporosis or, it's not, or whether they're treating diabetes, metabolic syndrome. Why aren't they saying fatty liver? Oh, you need to take tocotrienols. Why are they not saying that?
This is a great question. I think that there is an impediment out there due to the approximately early 1990s through 2005. It stretched up for 10, 15 years before they finally know that this is dead as a doornail. And that inhibit the doctors from pursuing, to answer your question why, because it came from that. In the 1980s, all the rave was in vitamin E. There were nobody raving at vitamin D, vitamin A, or vitamin K, unlike now. Everybody was raving on vitamin E in the 1980s. So huge, large clinical trials at the Harvard Medical School, esteemed institution, do all this with 20 to 30,000 people like that. Huge study and huge amount of money in it. They use alpha tocopherol, and most of them use synthetic alpha tocopherol. Most of those studies did not pan out. And some of those studies even said that in high doses, it may cause all-cause mortality, and in women, breast cancer, in men, prostate cancer. If those are the news and the soundbite in the media, you can see it's a matter of time. It's going to be dead as a doornail, and dead as a doornail it was. But they persisted on the study, in the secondary study, tertiary finding, and even quaternary finding. Why can they do that? Because those study was 30 to 40,000. So they can have subgroup of the study like that. So it dribble. But in the end, when they dribble it out, it still continue to confirm those negative findings. So now after 15 years of dosing, If you were to be an audience out there and you were going to like vitamin E, absolutely not. So this is a great time for people. And during all those times, I was praying. I was a young assistant professor here. Would the baby be thrown out with the bathwater?
You know,
Because I was doing tocotrienol, you see. So that surprisingly, because I persisted on it, we have so many animal study, and even in the last 15 years, we did all these clinical trials. I'm really happy to say that tocotrienol almost was going to be a runt, a stillborn, or a baby thrown out with the bathwater. It survived. So I'm good. If my name can be attached to this little known vitamin E, and it is little known. Vitamin E was discovered exactly 100 years ago by two American pediatricians in UC Berkeley, 1992. And it was not another 40 years after that, in 1962-65, before tocotrienol was discovered. And another 20 years passed in 1980s before people start to do research on tocotrienol. So it almost like tocotrienol is never to be. But because of the setback of alpha tocopherol, none of this I have anything to do with. And then I persisted on doing tocotrienol. The last 20 years were really research golden years for tocotrienol. And now it's coming to maturation. So on all these chronic conditions I mentioned, so its time is now. So it really is now.
wow, good for you. I have to give you so much credit. You should feel so good that you persisted. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the estrogen study with the women's health, that they completely threw out the estrogen because everybody was scared. And now they've said that those, you can't, now that's completely reversing itself and the trend is changing very much. But it's a similar type of thing, one bad thing and everybody's scared, even though it's not at all the same animal that you're talking about. Wow. So fascinating. This is so interesting. Okay. So we could talk forever. So, all right. So we got the I never pronounce it.
Right.
Tocotrienols. Yeah. So we understand how that helps with so many conditions that plague so many of us. And I just want to put a plug in that don't wait till you have diabetes. Don't wait. Start now. Get your numbers really good because it's possible. So and it's a little pill. I mean, I'm going to take out how tiny this is because it's small. Okay, so this is my Anato 300. It's little. It's
Yeah.
little. It's a little capsule. It's not one of these huge pills, and you have to just take one, right? One a day.
And
It's
with a
really
meal, with a meal,
with a
with
meal.
a, and also I wrap up the things that if you find tocotrienol, the one that you want would be the Anato tocotrienol. If you want to know that it is from us because we don't make finished product, look in the bottle and watch. It should say somewhere there it Delta Gold. DELTAGOLD. That's our trade name. It just means that it's made from us in Massachusetts. This is not made from another country. It's made right here in Massachusetts, like that. And my wife told me that, can you make this because you discovered this, you're blessed to discover. Can you make this in the simplest, best way possible? So we use no chemical, we use no solvent, we use just a physical technique to evaporate them and then to distill them. That's why when you show that soft gel, it's pristine. Many other people, I'll show you this. Look at this. I show it here. Look at the largest one. The 300 is here, and then the 200 is here. So the from palm. So mine is 300 and it's smaller size. The palm is 200 and bigger. So you can ask the question: did they put something else in it to make it so big? Yeah. So when you want to consume, you just want to take the real McCoy and then just leave everything else out. Take it with a meal, it will emulsify and your body will absorb it well. So remember the word Delta Gold, like that. And when you come later on, I'll tell you the website. You can think of all these different places. You can or ask Margie how to get it from her full script.
Yeah. So the good thing is on your website, you go through all the brands. Because on this one, I also like Designs for Health. So this one says 300 milligrams Delta Gamma tocotrienols. And so it's very obvious what it is. But the nice thing is on your website, you show all the different companies that contain your ingredients. So
That's
where,
correct.
and so when, if they get one of those companies, you know, you're all set with it. So that's great. Okay, so let's move on. So this is really great for our bones, for just so many things, and it's easy to take, and it's small and win-win. Is there any wait, before we go on though, is there any people who shouldn't take this, or is there any contraindications?
I to the best of my knowledge, none. We have been selling this. Good question, though. We have been selling this for about 20 years or so, and their adverse effect reporting. We have not heard of any adverse effect reporting from the FDA that they collected, and then they asked us to show them over the years how many of these pills have been shown. So it had been taken with a doses of probably about two in excess of 200 million doses over the last 20 years on different formulation that people have, and we didn't see any adverse effects report.
Okay, so we're gonna shift a little because you have some other great things to help us, and it's so hard for me to pronounce this word, but I want you to talk about geranol. I never pronounce right. GG.
GG.
Pronounce it.
It's
Just explain what it is, because this is something else that could help all of us.
okay. It's called Gyranol. This is a
Jaranil, not that hard. I don't know why
yeah, Gyranol.
I
Yeah.
have trouble with it. Okay.
Okay, this if I said so about 25 years ago, I went to South America. I was looking for something else, stumbled on this plant called annatto. You probably see that they put the color in cheese. If you look at carefully at this fruit, it has seeds for sure and it's a shell to cover it for sure, but it does not have a flesh. Where the flesh is just air. So that's a very unusual thing. My discovery on it is that that color is a carotene. I went to South America looking for lutein, totally different thing because it's good for macular degeneration and it's from marigold petal, all these wonderful things, all correct. But fate has it 30 feet away from me. I saw this plant and I thought, oh my goodness, that thing, if you look around it, it stains on the side here. So in other words, now to other people, they say, well, Barry, what's the big deal about that? Carotene in plant normally are contained and protected because they're highly unstable. For example, in carrot, the beta carotene is in the cytoplasm, in the cell of the plant. So you have to actually stir fry them before the reddish thing comes out. Tomato, the lycopene in tomato, you have to do a lot of Italian sauce before they will come out. And even in lobster and crustacean, you have from blue to yucky green become brilliant red color. They deproteinate and then show the color. All this to say, carotene is so important to the animal and plant. It had to be protected. Not so in the annatto plant. Because if you do it, it stains you, such that the British have nicknamed this plant the lipstick plant because 400 years ago when they discovered this. The reason I thought of that is I surmise that there must be a strong antioxidant that protect the color from degradation. That was an epiphany moment. I started doing research and I expected it to be a polyphenol that would protect the color from damaging and changing in color to become brown. Surprisingly, it was a vitamin E molecule. More surprisingly, it was a E molecule that have zero tocopherol. And most surprisingly, it is the vitamin E molecule containing the only two vitamin E that is most potent, the delta tocotrienol and the gamma tocotrienol. It was then I thought I stumbled on something. So in the process of doing this, I removed the color, and it is truly an Amazonian plant. You can see in this, the seed is about the size of a grape seed, and the frog is about the size of a dime. So this is a very close up picture. So that means that this is an Amazonian plant because the Amazonian tree frog was discovered in the Amazonia. So this plant is truly from the secret of Amazon. I just happened to stumble on it. I'm not even a medicine man, my goodness. Other people can brag and tell story like that. I just happened to be there looking for lutein and for the eye, and this plant was just 30 feet away from me. I just caught with curiosity. I don't even deserve to discover it. So full disclosure. So
Hey,
it's
can
not
we just say something? I'm a
yeah,
big person and things don't happen by accident. I really believe that somehow an idea is meant to come to you or something. So I believe that was meant to be, but
yeah.
continue.
Yeah, and it is exactly like that. So I removed the color and then I removed the vitamin E, tocotrienol, and still there's something left behind the yellowish, light orangey color thing. I didn't know what it was. So when I did, I found out that this is a compound called gyranol. So then I said, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with this GG? So it is really was serendipitous, my friend, and the listeners out there. It was not like I did this and it's going to build the world will become. It's not like that with me. I'm lucky to discover the tocotrienol, and then the GG flashed in my face. Then I decided to say, wait a minute, what is it GG for? Simplistically, GG is the last common step between a plant and animal. Now, we're not talking about different species. A plant and animal are very different. The plant oozes out green color, chlorophyll. The animal oozes out red color, like that. So the green color, chlorophyll, the red color is heme. GG is required for the making of chlorophyll and required for the synthesis of heme. So it is essential to life, to the plant and to the animal. The plant first, and then I leave it aside. If you eat your vegetable, you see the beautiful, they say, eat your color. Green is one color. If you eat tomato, the beautiful red color, and then some other orangey hue, like all the carotene that you eat. All the carotene comes from GG. You need GG to make carotene. I'll just leave it that for the plant because we are so anal. We want to think about the animal, not about the plant. Remember, the plant never make anything for people. We should be lucky and grateful. The plant have all these phytonutrients. We eat it. They don't make it for people. They make it for themselves to protect themselves. Now comes the animal. What is GG for? GG makes three things that I know, probably more. The first one that I covered already makes skeletal muscle protein, which means that your muscle, when you're young, 30-40%, when we get older, 20-30%. And if we don't take care of ourselves in this, we have sarcopenia. That. Second, it makes CoQ10. Without CoQ10, we cannot convert ATP energy, the currency of energy. Then you said that everybody in your audience take a manoquinone MK4, vitamin K. Vitamin K is important for bone health. Vitamin K1 initially is known for the clotting factor. So if you eat a lot of dark green vegetable, you will have vitamin K look like this. It got a ring, and then it also got a tail. The tail is saturated where the yellow color is. A fixed amount of vitamin K goes into the blood. That is for your clotting factor to seal the tears inside your blood. Not all the vitamin K go in your blood. If all the vitamin K go into your blood, then a vegetarian, a vegan would clot to death. Just think about it, just like that. So it doesn't happen. So a fixed amount go. Most after you have that, it will in the gut it will crop off here. The tail will be flushed off, and the ring will go inside the body. That ring that went inside the body, I'm trying to tell you something that you probably have not heard of. Everybody talk about MK7. It's made in the gut by bacteria. You heard this a million times, they'll tell you this. But in the colon, when that is made, it's probably good for a colon health. But I don't know how that can go into your body because nutrients are not absorbed in the colon and in the rectum. It is in the process to make poop, pardon me for saying that, and the poop will be excreted, and any good thing it make will go out with it. Most of the things in the gut that is being absorbed is in the small intestine, the three Latin words, ileum, duodenum, and duodenum. then all the nutrient absorbed. In the colon is in the process to make poop. That's where MK4 is made. One exception, MK4. So the ring goes in, it looks in 25 to 30 different organs. In those organs, it looks for a molecule, humble molecule called GG that your body makes. And the ring of the vitamin K will bind to a new tail, and that new tail is GG. After that GG is stitched onto that vitamin K ring, that is MK4. So every human being, the day you were born until the day you die, at least 25 to 30 organs in your body make MK4. Isn't it important for you and I to ask, regardless of what MK4 do for you? Just stay with me on this. If your body make MK4 in 25 to 30 organs, doesn't it behoove you and I to ask, why does our body make MK4? It is more basic than nutrition. It's biochemistry. I will tell you this. I think the body makes MK4 to prevent calcification of the artery, to make ourselves have strong bones. That's it. MK7 is something we add on to do that thing. MK4 is what your body over the eons of time make that. So if you do this, how are you going to get enough MK4? You take GG. This is a compound GG here. I don't know if the audience. If you go on the website, you'll see this MK GG here. On the background is a ginormous albatross compound about it made CoQ10. If you look, the whole tail of CoQ10 is made from GG. I don't have a molecule of MK4. If I do, it will go about to about here. That's MK4. The entire tail is stitched onto MK4. So therefore, I just explained the three things: making of muscle, making of MK4, and making of CoQ10. These are essential to life in human being. So don't ask me, how can it fix my life? No, just understand this. GG is an essential element to life to make everything else work. Now, in the consequence of that, you ought to have strong bone. In the consequence of that, you ought to have no calcification in your artery, because when you have MK4, it will put the calcium in the right place, which means the bone. It will not put the calcium in the wrong place, which is kidney, gallbladder, and artery. Otherwise, you have kidney stone, gallstone, like that. So I hope that is, I'm trying to put it as simplistic as I can, Margie.
Wow. Well, this has really piqued my curiosity. So I have some questions because I know how critical K2 is, and that's not something that traditionally was important. But so people would tell calcium, vitamin D, and not talk about K2. And you need that K2 to have, just like you said, to take the calcium, put it in the bones, and sweep it out of the soft tissue. So it's so important. However, what you're saying now, what I always thought was that humans do not have the capability to ferment and to really make enough K2 in their bodies like animals do. And that's why we need to take, additional K2. So now I'm wondering, because I know as you get older, the GG level becomes reduced. So what I'm wondering is, what about people, because they've done research showing improvement in bone density and reduction in fractures, actually, when people were taking high dose MK4, quite a high dose actually, like 45 milligrams. So my question is, can we be getting too much if we take the GG and we're taking the K2? Can you clarify that?
Yeah, I would say at the present, thank you. That's a great question to ask like that. As we age, the opposite is happening. We don't make enough GG. Hence, and now I'm going to say the opposite. We don't make enough GG. Therefore, we begin to have sarcopenia, muscle mass loss. We don't make enough GG. We have low energy. because it's unable to make enough CoQ10 that produce energy. We don't make enough GG, it's unable to make enough MK4, this kind of vitamin K2, and therefore we have calcification in the artery, and then we have brittle bone. So that would be the reverse.
Got it. Okay,
That
good.
got so it is actually it's actually helping your body to make those endogenous, and endo means nutrient your body makes. This is a very special group of things. The best group is called the vitamin. After that, it's called endogenous nutrient, but your body makes one. Exogenous nutrient would be something your body does not make. And GG, CoQ10, and MK4 are endogenous nutrient your body makes. So we must protect them like that. So, which is why when you say the 45 milligram, in Japan, MK4 is a pharmaceutical drug for anti-osteoporosis and anti-calcification in the artery. I know our time is beginning to come, but I just want to allow me to say one other thing.
Yeah, no, this is so important because this is I'm telling you, in my community, everybody's confused. And I mean, between MK7, MK4, what do you do? There's mixed research. So this is so fascinating to me. And just
now, let me tell you this, right? This one here, if you're still not convinced with GG, I will be. What can I say? I'm only bearing out the information I know. You know, when women are in postmenopausal state and estrogen drop, the doctor prescribed bisphosphonate. When they get the osteoporosis, everybody in women who are postmenopausal know this. When the bone is risking being broken, so when they're on bisphosphonate, the bone mineral density improve like that on that medication. And then dentists who see the patient on some dental thing notice something dentists never seen before. It acronized as BRONJ. You can Google, you can find out. And if you didn't, you have your audience that do bone, you're hearing it for the first time. Again, BRONJ means acronized for bisphosphonate related osteonecrosis of the jaw. Terrible term. So in the jaw, the osteo, which means the bone in the jaw, is dying in the jaw, BRONJ. And this is noticed by the dentist. And the dentist said that this is a very strange kind of a dental problem. We don't see this before. Later, they make the connection. Women that have this problem are from taking bisphosphonate drugs. So the bisphosphonate drug, where else it put strong calcium in the bone, it had one oddity and one unusual side effect. It actually destroyed the bone in the jawline, and of course, opportunistic bacteria. A lot of other bad things would happen. So they found out now that unusual behavior is because bisphosphonate specifically inhibit GG.
wow.
Keep in mind, GG is something our body makes. If once you got that in your head, then you know this thing. It inhibits GG in the gum and in the jawbone, so that the jawbone dies. And here we're done animal study on this. The jawbone die, and when you increase the GG content in the bone, I can send the audience any of this thing here. The GG is able to prevent the damage bisphosphonate do to the bone. So this has been said, and this is only known in the last 2 years. Before that, is not known. I am actually showing you critically women who have osteoporosis are on bisphosphonate. They have to figure out a way how to protect their destruction of their gum, their jaw, and the jawbone, the mandible here, like that. And you don't have to even, you just Google do that in red.
Oh, now that's known though. This is known. People know that that's a side effect. And that's a risk. Yeah. Yeah.
The side effect is because of GG. So if any of your audience who is a dentist, you want to do this clinical study, contact me and we'll start something like that. In fact, it was a published study 2 months ago, in Germany, that say that you should do a clinical trial where women that have this BRONJ to topically apply the GG right on the socket where the extraction of the tooth is like that. So all this to say, GG is intrinsically, intimately connected to bone health, whether it's bone health from this here or bone health in anything that have calcification on hard tissue,
Oh my
except
gosh,
for
this is
soft tissue.
okay. So we could talk for hours, but this is so important. So let's talk about. So anybody listening, because there are people listening who are on bisphosphonates. So if anybody's listening and they're on this, they should then also be on GG, correct?
Correct. And then the amount, if you take on GG, would be 150 milligram. You can talk to your doctor to take the 300 milligram. By the way, we have GRAS approved. GRAS, GRAS, it simply stands for generally recognized as safe, a statement by the FDA that it is safe. So because of this, we are now conducting clinical trials at 150 milligram and 300 milligram in people who take statin drug with confirmed myopathy. We don't have a study on BRONJ yet because I have not found a dentist who can work with me. I cannot just snap my fingers. It's going to happen. I mean, it's amazing that my partner and I is wanting to fund the study. It costs a lot of money and a long time to do it, but still, some expert who are professional in this area to do the study. I haven't yet. If you know, you let me know. We would like
Yes.
to study on that.
Everybody listening, if you're going to function, your dentist, definitely. That's so interesting. Okay. So let's just finish up because there's so much information, but the GG. So for example, this is so interesting because I'm a big person who I like doing micronutrient testing. And when I had my test done, it had showed I was borderline CoQ10. So I've been taking CoQ10 for a long time, but I didn't realize that this is your GG. I just like Designs for Health. So I'm taking Coconut 100. However, I know that this is your GG. So just explain how we know where to get the GG
Yeah.
and how we can take that.
Okay. The GG would be look for the bottle somewhere. They say GG Gold. That means that it come from our factory here. The Tocotrienol that Design for Health made, which is a combination of GG and the CoQ10 is ubiquinol together. And our trade name would be duoquinol, like that. So if you look, they'll say duoquinol. That's from us. If you want more information, you can find American River Nutrition. You'll find information and you can download all the white papers about Delta Gold, GG Gold, and duoquinol, and then you can read more. If you go to barrie10.com, you'll find press release announcement of a clinical study. We put out other podcasts. If you have a burning question, you can send an email to me, live@american-river.com. So you should be able to find all of this information. And also in americanrivernutrition.com, I list all the different companies that sell. You can buy on the internet like that, or you can do it directly from Margie from her full script. You're free to do this. So I would recommend people to consider. Oh, by the way, the dual quinol, the GG and CoQ10 is particularly good for people who are on statin drug because when you take statin drug, they have muscle problem. The doctor cares about muscle problem. You take statin drug, but people who are on statin drug, they know that the CoQ10 drop. And then when they take statin, the reason when they take statin drug, the CoQ10 drop and muscle problem is because they have GG. When you take
Wow.
statin drug, it inhibits GG. That's why you have CoQ10 drop. That's why you have muscle problem. So if you take GG, it will reverse people who have a statin problem. That is a clinical trial we are now doing in Texas to show that. So that is so I'm taking one at a time. So if I did not have all the clinical studies, because I can't do all of that one time. If you have any recommendation, what would be a well-known scientist who is a dentist who can also handle the interruption of doing clinical trials? And not all a professional can do clinical trials are very interrupting to your normal business. So you must be set up to do that. If they are, then I would love to work with a firm or work with a company or work with a dentist who can do this BRONJ study. So I'm leaving it out for you guys to come back.
Okay, we're putting it out to the world. This is exciting. We're going to make big changes here, Barry, you and I.
Yes, yes, yes.
So my question to you is just the last question, because we can talk for hours, but this is important. So is this I mean, this is just one company, but the Coquinol 100, is this what someone who says, oh my gosh, I'm on statins or I'm taking, would this do the trick? Is this enough GG in this one?
I would say if a person is taking a statin drug, the CoQ-Nol 100 would be good. If a person taking statin and have muscle problem or the CoQ10 is really low, then they should talk to the doctor. And in addition, take, I believe CoQ-Nol is 200. There's another
Okay, another product. Okay,
yeah.
great.
Or simply double up on this. You see,
Two of
one
these.
with lunch
Okay,
and one with dinner, we same thing like that. Thank
okay.
you so much.
Oh my God,
Oh,
this
that
is so
in another
fascinating.
time, when I have the study on the GG finished, you can have a follow-up review. Or when you have your symposium, you call that, maybe you can invite me, then I can directly interact with more of your listener and other people that come to your symposium regarding strong bone health.
Wow. Well, this has really just opened my mind. And I'm having all these people in my head that I want to connect you with now because this is very, very important for bone health, for just everything. And I just really, I can't thank you enough for all the work you've done and all the contributions you made. And I know this is going to catapult. You know how you've done all this work and then it catches on and then all these amazing things happen, which they already have. So thank you so much for being here. I'll have all the links to everything in the show notes, and I just really appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to your wonderful listener. Hopefully that this will bless you and it will be good for your health. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. I hope you found this interview as fascinating as I did. And the information Dr. Tan provided really can be life changing. I am just so excited. But there was a lot of information, and I want to distill it so that you can really utilize the most important points. Number one, all vitamin E is not the same. And the one that Dr. Tan talked about that has so many beneficial properties is tocotrienols. And there's a book. So I'll have in the show notes the link, free download. It's a fabulous book. I had gotten this many years ago at the conference I went to, but it really goes into the studies and the research, and it's easy to understand. And so back to the tocotrienols, what that can do, it can reduce bone loss. It can improve cholesterol, reduce triglycerides, help with fatty liver, as well as pre-diabetes, diabetes, and possibly even cancer. So there's lots of research that's being done and has been done. And it's a small little pill. So and on his website, you'll see the names that you can look at different supplements and see if they contain his ingredient. Because his company, what they do, they sell this ingredient to other manufacturers. So one of the companies that I happen to really love, this company, Designs for Health, and this pill, the Anato E, it's called in this one, it's called Delta Gold. And so this is a possibility. And you can order this. I have a full script account where will get 20% off anything you order. So you can check it. It's certainly discounted from what you may get other places, but you can look at it anyway. And this is one of it's certainly a win-win small pill. Okay, and again, but check with your physician, make sure that always before you add supplements to your protocol. But I'm just spreading this information. Now, the second thing he talked about was GG, and how if we have reduced GG, it may reduce the synthesis of vitamin K2, MK4, which is so important for our bones and so important to get the calcium make sure it gets into the bones and not in our soft tissue. So very important. And there's many other issues he talked about. If you are someone taking bisphosphonates, that can, as well as statins, that can reduce your GG. So and have negative consequences. So where I get my GG is coquinol 100, and this can come in a higher dose. This is just, and you can see this as it's called GG. And in the back of the supplement, it says, it will say GG, as well as this one is duoquinol. So that's their coquinol that contains the GG. So this is just another excellent supplement that could have so many health benefits. So I'm really excited about all the information he presented. I'll have, more information in the show notes, and I can't wait to hear. I love when I can be a vehicle to help spread information, and I'm so excited to hear what happens when people utilize this information. So please let me know. Please respond if you do add this, and what happens. So, and again, if you're a professional and this is something that you want to get involved with, please contact Dr. Tan. He wants to spread this information. So thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.